video of game one, exhibition game one to now. What did you see, and what's been the emphasis this week in practice?
Well, it's just good to get some stuff on film against an opponent that's not their teammates, and we got a lot of growing to do. It's no different than any team this time of the year for us. You get so caught up in practice going against each other, you really never see them on the same sideline, the same bench. So we finally got everybody on the same bench. We kind of get to see what a rotation would look like, different combinations playing together, which is different than a normal game situation. But we got a lot to work with, but we got a lot of improving to do.
How does the rotation change if Nick cannot go?
We've been working with different combinations, all year long, and with Nick being day-to-day right now, you've got different guys that can play multiple positions with our positionless style of basketball between EJ and Nate, and even Keon Khalil could slide in some to the power forward type position. So we've got a lot of different options we can work with this team.
Rebounding and emphasis this week in practice?
It will be. Yeah, it will be. We've been off since the exhibition game, and we saw it on tape, and obviously it'll be a big emphasis going into next Tuesday, but we'll be working on it in practice.
Tony, do you have a take on how this team is picking up on things in practice? Some teams are more teachable than others.
This team has been very teachable, very coachable. Individually, they know they got to get better. Collectively, they know they got to get better. And I go back to it's no different than any teams we've had this time of the year. I think as the whole coaching staff, we've got, as Cal says, our hands on the panic button, our feet on the panic button, because you just don't know how good you are this time of the year. But we like our team. They've improved from when they all showed up in summer school back at the beginning of June to now, but there's still a lot of room for growth.
Is there anybody that you just say, hey, I know this guy's picking up on things a lot quicker than I expected? Anybody stand out in that regard?
Not particularly. All the freshmen, they've got a high basketball IQ, and what we've asked them to do within their roles and within the team identity, they've all picked up on it fairly quickly. But like I keep going back to, there's a lot of room for growth because we're not a finished product, and neither are the individuals.
You open up with Michigan State, number one and number two. How big a game is that?
One versus two is going to be a big game. It's the first game of the year. Obviously, we like it. The first game to be against somebody not quite as tough. You got a team with a veteran team coming back, and one of the best point guards in the country in Winston, and one of the best big guys in the country in Tillman, and then you got a bunch of talented freshmen that they recruited. So it's going to be a tough challenge, but we like our team, and I think we'll be up for it that first night.
Do you say anything to them about, hey, look what happened last year, in case you forgot? Not the returning players, but for the incoming players.
Not necessarily, because it's really not relevant to those guys. So it's a different year, different team. They're different than how they were last year, Michigan State. We're different than what we were. So we're, this time of the year, you really try to focus on where you're at and improving from there.
You know a lot about the zone offense and defenses. Is that something that this team can do if it has to? Or?
Yeah, we work on zone every year, and we don't end up playing a lot of it. But it's there, and we're ready to go to if we need to.
Do you have a stronger case for Cal when you try to pitch it this year?
I've tried to pitch it the last 5 years, and you see how much we played, so not particularly.
Did anything surprise you from the Georgetown game?
Not
something
really.
Unexpected, like, hey, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, us getting out rebounded by Georgetown. That was really unexpected. So we've got to do a better job in our roles in blocking out and rebounding the basketball collectively, because it's kind of the defensive end of the floor. Rebounding is a 1-2, not a how-to. We got to want to go get the rebounds and go get the basketball better than we did the other day.
You know about Kentucky State?
I have not started on Kentucky State yet, so I'm not familiar with it.
Can you treat that as like a good learning tool? Because that's not something you want to find out against Michigan State.
Absolutely not. And so it's good to find it out early so we can continue to focus on it, make it a priority.
Did the start against Georgetown, it was a very good start for you guys, and then Omer comes in and brings a completely different speed. Did you think that caught some of your guys off guard a little bit, maybe?
Who knows? He's a good player. He started Division I at a high level, so he's a player that's had success on this level, Division I. So it probably wasn't a surprise for him, but maybe a surprise for some of our guys who weren't familiar with him.
Defensively, how's this team, the young guys, come along and grasp what Emmanuel has told them, and Ashton and so forth? Really good.
The guys are, Ashton, he sets the tone for us defensively. Your defense of identity starts on the ball. We want to be known as a defensive team, and it starts with those guys. Emmanuel's really improved on his defense, and so now our young guys can use them as an example of when we're teaching how we do something, they can look to those guys for the example.
Tony, Cal made a big deal in the preseason about not wanting to be a hat on the table in recruiting. And he kind of put a lot of the onus on you guys in those, I guess, introductory kind of meetings. How do you tell that with a recruit or a family? Or
Well, you just got to do your due diligence in the recruiting cycle. I mean, you try to develop relationships early, so you can get some honest feedback. Just like we are honest with the families and the recruits, hopefully they're honest with us too in their sincere interest, because we've made it known that when we're interested with you, we're coming after you.